Welcome, everyone. I'm Dick Deming. I'm Medical Director of MercyOne Cancer Center and the founder of Above and Beyond Cancer. Welcome to our weekly cancer education series. It's brought to you in part by a grant from the Iowa Oncology Society. And our topic tonight is art therapy, and our guest is Missy Drescher. Welcome, Missy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I've been looking forward to this because I would say of all the different types of therapies, the type that probably most people know the least about is art therapy.
And the one that's the most fun.
The most fun, yeah.
Yeah.
But before we talk about art therapy, let's get to know you.
Okay, all
so
right.
Where are you from originally?
All right. I live in Clive in the Milwaukee area.
Where were you born?
I grew up in Dyersville.
In
It's about 3
Dyersville,
hours
yes.
from here.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Field of Dreams.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And you went to high school in
Yes.
Dyersville.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And how many in your high school class?
Maybe about 100.
100?
Small.
What was your claim to fame at
Man.
Dyersville High School?
In high school. Well, I just
Music,
art and animals.
And
art
animals.
and animals were
Okay.
kind of my childhood. I mean, I wouldn't say claim to fame, but that
Uh-huh.
was my whole upbringing. Was I was either making projects, making arts and crafts, or doing some sort of nature.
And did you
animal.
live in town, or were you in the country or
country
in
girl.
acreage?
Yeah.
Country girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have pigs and
Not country
chickens
as in
and-
livestock.
okay.
But as in just being outside in the mud,
Okay.
getting dirty.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
had, my neighbors had horses, sheep, lambs, goats, baby goats.
Oh,
We
yeah.
all, we and my dad had these heat lamps where we would raise wood ducks and pheasants. And
So you would
chicken.
get
I
the
did-
eggs, or you would get them when
Yes.
they were little? But you'd actually get the eggs.
Yes, all these
hatch
things.
them?
Yes, we were very,
Wow.
and it's interesting when I think about the profession that I have now, being an art therapist. This childhood of all these animals, it makes sense. I think I learned a lot about just compassion and empathy with relating to the animal kingdom and how it goes with humankind. And we were just constantly, I remember my dad got me these buckets and I had tadpoles, and I needed to know, like, how does a tadpole grow into a frog? How does a little fluff ball grow into a chicken? And just having that love of biology and science, that was very fascinating to me. And so I think that's where the therapeutic part comes in. Actually, I have a quote from you when you were interviewed one time that it talks about how you have the brain for science and the heart for the arts and humanity. And I feel like that was my childhood right there.
Gotcha.
Is like
Left brain and right brain.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Is having that that love of nature and animal, but then also arts too. So that's
when you
kind of
think back to your childhood,
okay.
when do you think what's the earliest memory you have of what you would consider now as being an artist, as making
Artist. Okay.
art? I mean, I think back, and I don't think I ever really made art. I mean, I did coloring books, but even as I think back on it, I wouldn't say that, because I was always staying in the lines. And, it wasn't really
I was not
a creative process for me. It was staying in the lines.
Mhm.
So, but back for you, what's your
Jeez.
earliest memory of what you would call making art?
I'm going to go with, I remember going to see Santa, and I drew this like entire book of sketches of the elves and the reindeer, and it was like a chapter book of all my drawings. And I remember my mom bringing me to see Santa, and he was kind of like flabbergasted when I get up there, because I presented him with like this giant sketchbook of all these Christmas pieces of art that I made. And I think he was kind of like, whoa, that's a lot.
How old do you think you were?
Geez, maybe kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
And my dad, he worked as an underground driller. And so he, often when they would hit clay of the earth, he would actually bring a bucket home for me. And so I have vivid memories of that, of him coming home from work in his dirty work clothes and being like, Missy, I got a bucket of clay and I would sculpt and make mud pies. And so and I remember digging through the recycle bin, getting shoe boxes and turning them into boom boxes and just very problem solving in a creative way.
And then when you're like high school age, did they have real art classes in high school, and or is the community of Dyersville big enough to have art classes outside of school?
I think I kind of made it happen.
Okay.
I remember us having this Halloween pumpkin carving contest, and I was like, I want to make a life-size Cinderella pumpkin. And I remember my art teacher being like, man, you just dream big here. Like I can't get a pumpkin that big. But just having these wild ideas. And I remember prom, painting a mural that was like 80 feet long, and I still wanted more space. And I remember I gave them my budget for glitter, and I think they were kind of just like, this girl just, but yeah, so I kind of paved the path I wanted to. When I was in high school, I actually wanted to be an art teacher. So I designed an art class at our library, and I taught kids there.
Oh, you did?
So yeah,
Wow.
I remember wanting to, one of my biggest projects, I wanted to do stained glass with kids, but I didn't want it to be dangerous. So I'm like, I'm going to use eggshells. So I remember my mom making scrambled eggs to get us all these eggshells. And then the class just blew up. And so I had all these kids, and so we had to go to the local restaurants and be like, save your eggs from Sunday brunch because we're doing this huge class. And so kind of just had these wild ideas and made them happen. And
gotcha. So it obviously wasn't just drawing or painting. You're into
anything
art,
creative,
anything creative,
and anything
what about
problem solving.
were you like making your own clothes? And...
No.
Okay.
I'm not quite fashionista.
Okay.
No,
okay.
Not. But just
how about bedazzling your own clothes?
Sure.
Or painting your
keeping my hands busy.
Okay.
Bedazzling stuff.
So
yeah.
What did you do when you graduated from high school?
Graduated high school, went to college, where I did studio art there.
So when you entered college, that was your major?
Yes. Specifically, really fell in love with printmaking, screen printing.
Okay.
Just love having my hands dirty, and was really interested in art history as well. Wanted to teach art history.
And at that point, it was kind of to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like your parents saying, what are you going to major in art? You
well,
need to get a job.
I mean, they did that too.
But no, I'm going to be an art teacher.
I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of bossy. I just like to teach. I just wanted to. Teaching was always. I like teaching.
Okay, so 4 years at College.
Kind of. Again, I kind of make my own path. Went to and went to the University of Iowa. My husband's back there. Met him at the University of Iowa.
And you transferred from to the University of Iowa?
Yes.
Still as an art major?
Well, I was working in an art gallery there. And so taking classes, doing that. And then I met him and got sidetracked. He's also an artist. So that everybody's looking at him.
His name is James.
Yes.
Hi, James.
And so being married to an artist.
Gotcha. So 2 artists.
Yeah. We
living
met
the bohemian lifestyle.
I mean, pretty
Iowa
much.
City.
Right? There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we took ceramics classes together there. I was very competitive because I'm left-handed, and pottery wheels are pretty much made for right-handed people. So James was a really good ceramist, and I was jealous of his skills. And but he is a photographer, and actually we had a pretty creative path after. So school together, and then married. I was really into graphic design at that time, and James is cinematography, photography. We did a lot of darkroom stuff. Remember that smell of darkroom, developing film. So we did a lot of that, and we somehow really unintentionally fell into the wedding business, and we're wedding photographers. And I think with James being a photographer, to get the right shots, you need that storytelling aspect. And that's kind of where weddings were so enriching for us. And then as a graphic designer, I did wedding invitations and handmade,
Gotcha.
stamping, tying the bows.
Mhm.
So it really worked out.
Did you ever get your teaching degree with the art?
No,
You didn't?
no,
Okay.
I do.
So you went right into
Yes,
art.
I do
And
currently.
you also artistically made 2 kids,
Yeah.
right? The 2 of you.
Yeah,
That was
totally.
one of your art projects.
Yes, it was. It was
Okay.
a fun art project to work on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at what point did you learn about art therapy
Yeah.
as a profession?
Yeah, great question. So I think that might stem a little back to childhood when we were talking about having a love and for like nature versus nurture, and just kind of the life cycle and biology, and having such an interest with animals is kind of where I just have always had this compassion, and it can even go deeper, I guess, into empathy. So that, like, my love of animals growing up, but then us being wedding photographers, wedding days are not easy breezy.
Stressful.
They're stressful, and they're loaded. There's high highs and there's low lows, and they're emotional, and no family is perfect. Every family has dynamics, situations to tiptoe around. And I think
So you found yourself
I think we
as
felt
a counselor during
yeah, or like
some
a
of those
wedding planner
sessions.
almost. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think it was stressful and draining at times, but fell also in love with the balance of really holding that like sacred part of people's intimate and special times, and having people trust you with that. It's a huge honor. Oh, did you ask me what my claim to fame was? My claim to fame was we were wedding photographers for about a decade, and we shot about 300 weddings. So that's my claim to fame.
Gotcha.
I guess. Yeah.
I thought you were going to name names
No.
of some Hollywood star that came to Iowa.
No, didn't take any
Okay.
celebrity weddings,
Oh,
but
okay.
Could say that we shot 300 weddings. So and that, I think, was where I learned a lot, not necessarily fell in love with being a therapist, but learned a lot about the sensitivity that you have to have to humans, and just to have the right heart for it and have a passion for it. And I like the complexity of it, of just human nature and dynamics. And
so then let's talk about art therapy.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and this idea that you spent time with individuals, and you're realizing that you had a talent to help people through stressful times.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the essence of therapy, helping people through difficult times. When did you become aware of art therapy as a profession? Did you learn about it in college as you were studying art? Was there any discussion about art therapy as a profession?
Yeah, I really had it on my heart on a back shelf while we had our photo and design studio. But we had 2 babies, and I was a mom and a business owner. And so it was kind of a dream that was tucked away in my heart. And we ended up selling our studio from Iowa City to Des Moines. That's what brought us to Des Moines. So James kind of took over a lot of that, which gave me freedom to stay home with my littles while they were little, and return to graduate school and complete my master's for art therapy. And this was all during COVID. And so this is when mental health was like at an all-time. And I actually, my beginning of graduate school was during COVID. And it was a really interesting, like, learning how to help individuals with anxiety when we as a nation were in such an anxious. So grad school went from being in-person residencies to everything being virtual, everybody in my cohort having COVID, like just a lot of that's kind of the beginning of grad school, and was a huge reminder of why mental health is so imperative. And a lot of thesis studies at the time when I started grad school were students graduating the program talking about COVID and mental health in hospital settings and studying it because it was this new thing we were all figuring out together.
So I would imagine that when you go to a graduate program in art therapy, they're not going to teach you art.
Yeah,
you probably
both. It's kind of
they do?
interesting.
Okay.
In a way, it's a double
would you say
master.
that? I mean, would you say that 100% of the people going into art therapy are already
Wonderful question, because
artistic?
there are a lot of artists who want to be an art therapist, and there are a lot of LMHCs, mental health therapists, who want to dabble and incorporate art too
into
so
their
there's
therapy.
definitely there's definitely professionals who have
who are already counselors and want to learn how to
Yes.
incorporate art into their
So
counseling.
they prefer talk therapy and want to incorporate some crayons and some art media into, but primarily our talk therapist. That works for them. I have people that I know that do that, but then I also have people who are like, just the art is very, very important, and then the therapeutic benefits are a bonus. It's kind of where you kind of fit and where your calling is in that area.
And in your program, did you learn the various principles of counseling and various theoretical perspectives of counseling?
Yeah. You kind of, when you get to a certain stage in grad school, you pick which modality you identify with. I like doing a lot of client-centered, human-centered. I think it just honors the rawness and the realness to humanity, and it lets your patient have the driver's seat. So they're the ones doing the work. You're just there to assist them along. And so it's very centered around the patient. Personally, that's how I like to work. But yeah, you kind of pick your realm that works for you. But we did a ton of art making. I still art make. It's contradictive if I tell people they have to make art and then I'm not. I feel like I get cranky when I'm not making art, and I need to
sort of work together.
Yeah.
And what are some of the conditions that art therapy has been shown to be beneficial for?
Yeah. Well, today you'll have to keep me on time so I don't babble too much. So, but I would love to show specific to cancer patients what the benefits have been and kind of what some of the art has been that we've done, because we are going to be offering a couple of series through Above and Beyond Cancer, and we're doing that specific to cancer patients.
Gotcha.
Just like, you would have art therapy that you would use for PTSD, depression, anxiety. These have been we designed these and chose these for the cancer patients.
So before you came into the cancer realm, so aside from individuals who have cancer, who also have personality issues and life issues and relationship issues and existential issues, in general, would you say that art therapy is something that is used primarily for that realm of anxiety, depression, fear, those sorts of things? I mean, as opposed to, it's not art therapy for arthritis in your hands to help you mobilize your physical, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a cognitive function that art therapy is wonderful for familiar with brain cancer or just brain trauma. Art therapy is excellent for rebuilding
some
cognitive
of the neural pathways.
Yeah, I mean, think of shapes, colors, design, following directions, kinesthetic, working with your hands, fine motor skills. All of that is art. You're doing so much art on a daily basis, you don't even realize you're doing it. But yeah, the cognitive part, that was a big interest of mine too in grad school, is cognitive recovery, how art is so powerful.
So for people with a mild cognitive impairment, whether it is from chemotherapy or early dementia, early Alzheimer, art therapy plays a role in that, helping to improve cognitive function.
Yes, absolutely.
And then maybe say more about what you've seen in the role of art therapy in, let's say, PTSD or anxiety. How do you see art therapy helping in those conditions?
Yeah. So before the Deming Center, I was doing a lot more work with children. I have an art studio, an art classroom that we do art camps and academies. And with children, now we have such a busy world. There's so much anxiety and depression. With children younger and younger, I see it, the need for that, and even the need for children losing that artistic love at too young of an age versus like my childhood. But I also was involved with a lot of crisis stabilization and trauma work. That's very that's close in my heart. And I feel with trauma, often you're paralyzed, emotionally paralyzed. And so words are hard and they might be draining and they might just be agonizing. And so art is a way of communication, but not the pressure of words. Actually, this might be on one of the slides. This is very cheesy, but this is my best way to describe an art therapist. Is everybody knows the quote, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." So for an art therapist, we say often those 1,000 words aren't available until there's a picture. So often when you're in that fog of trauma, you need to say something, but you can't say it until you see it. And so art is so powerful in that sense. It's a huge communication tool.
And back to children, in working with children, is there a specific role for art therapy in autism or children on the spectrum? Is that something that's been studied?
Yeah. Neurodivergent children really enjoy, and I don't want to generalize or make any assumptions, just with my experience, they really enjoy that sensory component. Play-Doh, clay, but it can also be very triggering too with the wetness on the hands. But sand trays, just enjoy that very calming, or that repetition of also like in clay. There's not that pressure to make something beautiful. You can just knead a ball of clay the whole time. So it's more about having, I don't think I'm answering your question the right way, but about having like the importance of, we don't have to have a beautiful masterpiece. We're just making art to experience how that art is healing. So, and I think that's
right, the process of making it.
Yeah.
Although you bring up an interesting question. So somebody that's sort of a perfectionist and OCD and wanting to do it right, I think I would feel the pressure of the end product being so inferior to what would meet my own expectation of acceptable.
I am right there with you. I am also a type A, very perfectionist, very particular. You can ask my husband back there. And yes, the OCD.
He's going to be another show.
Yeah, totally. He's another series. But man, it's taken a lot for me. I will give you an example. I did some mural work for a church that was having a movie event, and they wanted me to create these murals. So I created these big 8-foot murals, and they were on like this ply styrofoam. I took hours to create. They were beautiful, and they're huge. We had to like hold them off the top of our Jeep. I don't really know how we even transported them. They were huge. And so you would think I'd be very connected to them because I spent hours making them. But when the event was over and they tore down, they were like, "Missy, where are the murals going?" I'm like, "Recycle them with all the other." And they were just flabbergasted that I didn't want to keep these. And I was like, wow, I've come a long way as an art therapist, because I am able to say, I enjoyed the process of making that art, but I am not attached to that final piece. And so that I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But that's a huge part to get your mindset into, remove the pressure of it having to look beautiful and just enjoy the process of it.
Right.
That's been a really hard thing for me to learn.
So you probably realize this, but I personally am the gateway to get my patients to you. And so let me take the pressure off of art and say, so for example, we offer acupuncture.
Yes. Yeah.
And there are some people, I'm not going to do acupuncture. I hate needles. I have a fear of needles. They will never even come close
Uh-huh.
to experiencing what relief they might
Mm.
get from that
Mhm.
modality. But I would
Because of
say
the fear?
because of the fear of
Mhm.
needles, I would say it's similar
Mhm.
with art.
Mhm.
If I mention that,
Yes.
because we don't force anybody to
Mhm.
take acupuncture or
Mhm.
art therapy,
Mhm.
but there are some people, and I might be sort of in that camp myself, that have such a fear of
Yeah.
being unable to perform art that I would be like,
Mhm.
I think that sounds too stressful.
That's
So,
I'm really glad you brought that up.
part of this is
Mhm.
for you to give me the language
Mhm.
for how I can relieve them of fear of performance anxiety,
Yeah.
but
Mm,
that they might have.
well, I will say, some of the greatest experiences I've had have been with people who have no art experience,
Mhm.
and just seeing them light up, and yes, removing the pressure of we're making something beautiful. Actually, that was one of the challenging things in grad school. We were constantly being told, You have to make ugly art. You have to make ugly art," or we would make something beautiful and we'd have to tear it up. So removing yourself from like having that pressure of it has to be beautiful,
Mhm.
and what is the process of it? How am I healing through this? Yeah, I love that you said that, because there is no artistic experience required. Actually,
Well, yes.
I can't say I have favorites, but what some of the most meaningful art experiences have been with people who are unfamiliar with art,
Mhm.
and you get to experience how powerful and genuine
Okay.
that reaction is that they
So
have.
in school, did you have a class or a particular part of your training that specifically dealt with cancer?
Uh, Wonderful question. No,
Probably not.
but
Okay.
you've inspired me
Okay.
to
So and
advocate for
before
that.
coming into our center and working with our cancer patients, had you personal experience with working with cancer patients?
Yes. Well, personally, yes, I have a dear special friend who her little signal to me is bluebirds. Actually, I know she's watching this right now, and some family members too. But
Mhm.
more of my actual like professional experience is with like trauma and crisis stabilization. So I see that they're similar.
Right. So would
Mhm.
you think, as you accept this position and coming in, that that was sort of your frame of reference is obviously we're not proposing that doing art is going to kill cancer cells.
Mhm.
We're proposing that it has a healing benefit.
Mhm.
And would you say that that healing benefit is around anxiety or trauma or fear? Is that where you
Yeah,
see
I don't
the
want.
intersection
Yeah.
of art therapy and
Yeah.
cancer?
Yeah, I don't want to define anybody down, because you oncology. Oh, there we go. We're back. Awesome. You're receiving your integrative care just at the building as any other appointment. And so that is, you get 4 sessions there. We're going to do, the first is intake, and we'll probably dive into art making. But the first intake one is, you just get to tell me a little bit about your hobbies, your what you're into, so that for the second session, we can prepare, if you're very physical and kinesthetic and you want to do woodworking, I'll make sure I have that part ready. If you want to sew, I'll have fabric ready. So intake is kind of getting prepared for like the really getting into art making on session 2.
How much of that intake is the patient telling you their cancer story?
It really depends.
What's the first, how do you open the conversation?
I let the patient tell me.
Well, you start off by hello.
Some patients
where are you from? What's your claim to fame in high school?
Yeah, you know what? I should coin that.
I am curious. How do you begin a conversation?
Yeah. So the intake forms are tell me a little bit. I actually have in true artist form. They're colored. Like literally, there's a page that's a rainbow spectrum. Because I have an emotional therapy, all the emotions, a wheel on there, and it's going from hot to cold, and red is angry, yellow is calm. So I literally am using all the colored ink at the Deming Center because my intakes are colorful, and they go and circle all the adjectives: angry, hostile, sad, scared, anxious. And so we kind of go over that and explore, okay, why did you circle this? What, and then we get prepared for what art we're going to make the second time. We might make some art the first time too. And then for your 4th session, we're kind of going to do like a little mini exhibit, and then we'll reflect and meditate back on everything we've made. So, and those are really special because they're one-on-one.
So the 2 different ways of engaging with art therapy at the Deming Cancer Center is either one-on-one, which is generally 4 sessions.
And allow an hour, just like most of your other sessions.
Or they can participate in a group session.
Yes, which is in Above and Beyond Cancer. And if you look on the website, it's called Healing with Art. This one, it's once a month, second Tuesday of every month. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So this is not one-on-one, it's group. So this is with fellow survivors. We actually made the decision, we want, while we love when you include family and loved ones, we wanted it to be very sacred and intimate. So it's just survivors. So we have this
not the spouses or the caregivers.
Just survivors.
And it's in person, not virtual.
In person. Yes, in person.
And where are those sessions held?
That's at the Valley Community Center. That's in Valley Junction, West Des Moines. This is for the YAs, the young adults. This is 18 to 40. And I had to note where art clothes because you're gonna get messy. And we provide all the supplies. It's free. The only thing we ask is just that you register so we have a head count.
Great.
And here I'll go.
And the first one is going to be when?
Yes, we have October and November, and then we're going to take a little break for the holidays, and then we have January and February.
So the second Tuesday of the month.
Of every month. We're going to try to do that, so it's just a routine.
And this individuals would register for it through the Above and Beyond Cancer
so
website.
One-on-ones go straight to Dr. Deming. He'll take it from there, and then Above and Beyond Cancer, the groups go to the website, and it's under healing with art, and under the young adults, I believe. And we should say that both of those, whether individual or group, are free of charge to cancer patients to participate. We have a grant at the MercyOne Richard Deming Cancer Center that covers the expenses, and Above and Beyond Cancer is also a 501c3 public charity, and those courses are covered by philanthropy. So for patients, there's no charge for either of those sessions. Just amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah. So first session will be October for the group.
Yeah. So this is the group one. We are going to start the group one. I felt that this one is one one of the most important that needed to be honored and explored. We're going to do body mapping. So this is quite intimate. We are going to explore sexuality and intimacy because I believe that the reproductive cancers there is prostate, testicular, breast, ovarian, cervical. These are cancers that, and it is no fault to society, but often people assume, oh, they're done with treatment, everything's back to normal. That's not how it goes. And so this healing journey that happens after treatment is very, it affects intimacy and reproduction and infertility. And it's really a sensitive topic that happens so frequently and needs a space to be honored and a space for grieving. So we are literally tracing our bodies. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to discuss where in our body we're manifesting or holding trauma. You may think that that physically in the spot where you have cancer is where you would pin, but that's not necessarily true. You might have migraines, let's say gut issues with anxiety. So we're really going to have this tangible, visible way of seeing, like, wow, this is where I'm carrying and holding and manifesting stress.
And I would say that even the cancers, whether that aren't prostate, testicular, breast, gynecologic, the whole body dysphoria can be an issue, whether it is, head and neck cancer related to speech or swallowing, or just visible scars, or, an amputation from a sarcoma, or, the body dysphoria that happens regardless of whether the anatomy is related to actual sexual function, because when you get down to it, the whole body is part of an intimacy generator.
Thanks for bringing that up, because later in the winter, we'll get to that one. There's a transparency class where we'll talk about how sometimes cancer forces you to be transparent, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Whereas,
because I'm sure you're not going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you have lung cancer, you can't be part of our October group."
You're
not going to do that.
No, you're totally yes, you're totally right. we will take you. Here, let me skip down actually.
Okay,
to the
so that's October.
Let me skip to the January one.
Okay.
While we're on that topic, where you said transparency. So January, that is kind of one of the themes, is transparency. This one is new beginnings, altering winter blues. Winter is hard on people, whether it's December and January have high suicide rates. So they're the highest of all the months of the year. And so we're going to focus on combating the blues, and also the transparency part. We are going to be making self-portraits, but we're going to do them on big oversized iPads. And then the self-portrait is going to be on this transparent, beautiful piece of this art sheet. And so we're going to talk about the transparent part of cancer, sometimes your cancer is transparent, whether you like it or not. It's physically showing. Hold on, I got some notes here. I had something I wanted to add, but and so we're going to explore that. How is winter different in comparison to winter blues now or before cancer? And then have you set New Year's Eve goals? How are your goals different since surviving cancer?
That whole concept of transparency, just touch on that a little bit. What I'm thinking of as you're saying this, and just let me know if this is some part of that. It also comes down to, how does an individual who's gone through cancer view their cancer with their identity? There are some people who lead with it.
Yes.
I mean, they be introducing themselves, and it's like, I'm a cancer survivor. And others, they try to keep it hidden, and they say, no, I'm done with that. I'm not a cancer survivor. I'm just, Joe Blow, and I'm a lawyer, and no one except those who happen to be on the inner circle know they had cancer. So is that part of how you might as you create your own self-portrait? To what
Yeah,
extent is cancer
I
part
think
of your
it's gonna
portrait?
I think it's going to be really powerful just alone in having a self portrait. And we may use some reflection mirrors if people want to sketch their own reflection, but just to take that deeper look into who you are. And one of the questions are like you touched on, does transparency when having your cancer make you feel strong and admirable, or do you view it as like vulnerable and weak? And so there's such a spectrum of how people view their cancer, and I think it will be eye-opening and enriching for many people that we have. Yeah.
So that's January.
Yeah.
We'll
back up
to November.
November is Thanksgiving, and this is where we briefly talked about opposites. The art here that we're going to have is depicting opposites in juxtaposition. So Thanksgiving is this time where there's food and family. Most cultures celebrate Thanksgiving, but some may feel like those signs that are like grateful, thankful, blessed, they may not feel thankful, grateful, blessed. Thanksgiving might be the smell of turkey, might be really nauseating. They might be in bed and not even able to eat a meal. Or the thought of explaining everything that's going on to all the family members might just feel burdensome. Thanksgiving is not the picture perfect movie scene for everyone. As cancer survivors. And so we're going to let them have this safe space to have that and not have the pressure to put on this facade that that it's beautiful in this big show. And so how do we cope when Thanksgiving does not feel like Thanksgiving? So we'll talk about gratitude and grief and how they're kind of similar but different. And then there's also, so this is going to be very visual. I think we might fold some paper. I don't want to give too much away. I feel like I've already given too much away about it, but we might
I'm not going to
fold some paper, and we're going to have a lot of, well, the whole internet knows about it now.
Oh, that's right. We are. So back to the individual. So this, I mean, I am a little bit blown away about how deep and broad you're going with these.
Yeah.
Did you come up with this on your own, or or did you look up like textbook Art Therapy 101?
No,
2?
this is kind of where my this kind of where my teacher brain comes in.
Creativity. And
I like having a structure, but also knowing that it doesn't have to expect any unexpected too. This is just a template. Like you said, you might have an anxiety of, oh my gosh, I'm not an artist, I don't know how to do this. So I don't want to have, hey, we're going to make art for 2 hours, you guys are on your own, there's all the art supplies figured out. Having a template alleviates hey guys, we have a structure, we're all going to follow it, but also don't feel the pressure that you have to do this. It's kind of just
in the group session, as everyone is making their own piece of art, is there dialogue, conversation? We were talking in November about grief and gratitude. Is there conversation about grief and gratitude?
Yes.
While you're making the art?
Yeah, I have some discussion questions that I like my slideshows. I like being organized. Can you tell, like, teaching?
Yes, and they're very beautiful.
But for the body mapping one, I actually do have a slideshow that I'm going to use. But again, I think it alleviates the pressure of having to create, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Well, I'm going to have a slideshow up that has about 10 questions that can stimulate thoughts. Some of the body mapping one, just like if I could write a letter to myself pre-diagnosis, what would it be? If I could draw my body so it's a list of stimulation for people to simmer in while they're working, and I'm going to leave that up, but also give little pauses for people to chime in. We have like little mini art shows that they can show, but it's very important to note you don't have to participate. No one is required. It's whatever you're feeling.
Someone wants to come and just work on their art. They don't have to
and
engage in sharing feelings.
And we can introduce, everybody can introduce themselves if they want to speak a little bit about their cancer journey. and share their art, but no one, it's whatever their comfort level is. So
So we've done
Okay,
the
so
3 sessions,
we're
right? October,
bouncing
November,
around.
and January.
Yep. And then February. Okay, I know these were kind of deep. February is going to be a fun one. So February is red and pink and fun. And so we're going to have, this one's going to kind of be a celebration one about self-love. I'm going to, it says I'm going to set up a huge art party. All the tables are going to be full. And I want people to just celebrate and have snacks. By this time, the group will have had 3 deep and intense sessions. So this is kind of like the reward fun one. We're going to make some mood boards, but really the theme of this one is just embracing self-love and celebrating the accomplishments and celebrating survivorship.
Missy, I have to ask you, what is a pinch pot?
Oh, you know what a pinch pot is. This
I
is
have
so basic.
no idea
Okay.
what a pinch pot is.
Okay.
Seriously.
Okay. No, you can. Okay. What? You know what a pot is?
Does anyone else not know what a pinch pot is? Okay, I'm not alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is where my weirdness comes
Yeah,
in.
were
I'm
you
like,
trying to
so-
shame me?
No, I wanted to challenge you to figure it out. Like,
Okay, let me
pinch,
figure it out.
Pinch.
Pinch.
So we've been talking about fine motor skills, working
Uh-huh.
with our hands. Pinch. We would make a pot by
Oh,
pinching.
it's clay.
Yeah, did
It's-
you play in the
it's
mud when you were a kid? Make mud pies.
pinch
It's a mud
pot.
pie.
Oh,
It's a sophisticated mud pie.
okay.
Yeah, but a pinch pot, you can get a big lump of clay, roll it and roll out a pinch pot. Yeah, it's a
Gotcha.
handmade
It's pottery. It's making pottery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for slowing me down because
Yes.
knowing how many people were like, I don't know what a pinch pot is, I'm realizing I'm being very
Mhm.
overwhelming right now. So thank you for pointing that
You're
out
welcome.
because I'm throwing a lot of big art words out.
We're going to break the wall for a second here. George, are we having technical issues? We're still on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're
Okay.
gonna stop the slide for a while, and we're going to go ahead and close this right here in front of us, and then we're going to continue on the camera because we're going to open up to questions right now. So let's do that. We've got a live studio audience. If you are live streaming us, please just put your question in the comments section. And if you are here in the room, we'll hand you a microphone. Angelina,
Hey, what a
you
surprise.
get to go first.
Well, I think I missed what September. What do you have planned for September with the group?
We bounced around. September is nothing quite yet.
So we're not
Yeah.
going to start the group till October.
Yeah, we're not
Oh,
starting until
starting
October.
until
The
Yep.
group will
October.
start
Yep.
in
Good
October.
question. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
and I'm actually just started with the art therapy, and this is my second session I did today. It was awesome, and I'm looking forward to some more.
Awesome. Great.
Totally recommend it. And you do have a choice of things to choose from, and you're talking while you're doing it. You don't even realize how much you're doing and talking and enjoying it. So you're able to be more open. And so I do recommend it. Totally
Great.
recommend it.
It
Thank
makes
you,
me smile.
Angelina. Other questions?
So in the group therapy, is there like a different type of thing that you do each month? You know, is there a pinch pot per se on one class, or how does that work?
We're kind of introducing it. So any suggestions, please bring them in. I would love to hear suggestions. But yeah, I think that's kind of where our thought process is once a month. And then to have a common theme or a project. Some of them are based around the type of like the season. But yeah, I think that there's definitely none of them are going to be open and undirected. There's always going to be like some kind of structure. Does that answer your
Right,
question?
Yeah. Like a craft, I would call it.
Yeah,
So to
yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I will note too for the groups, don't stress about, oh, I have to make the perfect pinch spot. These are more for survivors to spend time together and have fellowship together and have a sacred and intimate and safe place. I actually I have a bin packed that if they don't want to make art and they just want to sit in a beanbag and look through art books, cool, awesome. You're just there for the fellowship. So if the art part does intimidate you or you just want to scribble, that's fine. It's more about the connection and the community, and realizing you're not alone and there's people to support you. And then art is just kind of the bonus. So.
And you brought up a good point, that, so for example, with music, music can be, there's a music therapist and there can be therapy in making music, but there can also be therapy in listening to music. And I think I'm hearing you say that art maybe is the same way, that for the most part, art therapy is making art, but that there can be therapy in viewing art.
Absolutely.
And there might even be some therapeutic techniques of using art to kind of like, you might read a poem and sort of, what does the poem mean to you?
Yeah.
What does this piece of art mean to you?
Yeah. And I've seen that many times where we're in a group and they're sharing, and someone else's art really inspired or healed or helped someone else who didn't even make it. And that's really fascinating and cool and rewarding to see how someone else's art process is helping. So that's the fellowship part. That's very important.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I am so excited about what you are creating at both the MercyOne Richard Deming Cancer Center and Above and Beyond Cancer. And I would have to say that I know that a part of healing, no matter what you're doing, is being in the presence of someone who is caring and compassionate, and you have that in spades, and that's part of the healing process. So I think anyone who wants to partake in the individual art therapy or the group art therapy is going to be really rewarded by some positive feelings.
Well, and it's rewarding for me too. Yeah.
Right. It's like a hug. It works in both directions.
I know. Win-win.
So if you know someone that would benefit by watching this program, it's going to be available on demand beginning tomorrow at the Above and Beyond Cancer YouTube channel and the MercyOne Cancer Center website. I hope you'll join us again next week for our cancer education series. Thanks, everyone.